joyful, jubilant, jumping jacks! Nice to see you too, Sasuke. Oh, Mr. Natsume. I'm so pleased for you. Locum student Mr. Nanaho Esquire and non-locum judicial student Miss Mikotoba Esquires. Now, finally, at long last, there can be proof. Proof that I'm innocent and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellows. Ah, Herlock Sholmes. May you drink my tepid tea and fall forever silent. Maybe not say that in court right now. I thought that he was innocent. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you came! How wonderful! Please, save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. I seriously doubt that. Good morning, he says. Well, it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Okay, well... Never mind, you seem to be right in the nose. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. As sleep seduced me last night, I thought, tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions. Such spirited determination has a beauty all of its own, does it not? Oh, yes. And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep? I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once. It's so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep. Absolute brilliance. Put it on a t-shirt. Well, is that not an astute insight into the matter? Oh, yes. Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. And the results? By first light, I was exhausted and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. And so, the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simply essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. What others presuppose, I proved by experimentation. That, my dear fellow, is the scientific method. Ah, yes. And one more thing. Do you remember this? Ah! Yes, of course. It's the poison that Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. Oh, you didn't manage to... It was a laborious task, as the bottle was near empty, but such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine. So I was right. Perhaps, though of course such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Did you? Do you need to go to the hospital again? I guess technically this will be the first time in lore, but... Shut up. A bottle found in the possession of Miss Green with traces of the slow-acting poison strychnine inside. Could I have a word? Gregson, how good of you to come. Forget it. Excuse me. I want to have one word. He says hello, just like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Not while you're here. Wait a minute, Inspector. I, don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. Too late. From the look on your face, I say it's someone else who you think is making a nuisance of himself. My dear Inspector, please, speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here. If only. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me. Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation of Mr. Shanspeare's room? Not yet. Shouldn't be long now, though. No, I'm here about something else. That dead convict, actually. Oh, you mean the man from this newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shanspeare's room? A man by the name of... yes, Selden. I went through the archives of the yard and dug out the fellow's file. There's something in there that... Well, it caught my eye. Something caught your eye? What, Inspector? What? I've copied out the relevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourselves. Thank you! Capital offender's file has been entered into the court record. Scotland Yard's file about the convicted criminal Selden that includes the newspaper article about him dying of illness in prison. These documents include details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamsphere's room. I'll rearrange everything in the court record so we don't have duplicate information. Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though? Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure things get handled in the proper fashion. Oh, Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful. Indeed, my dear fellows, and the inspector here is a shining diamond in the crown. A shining diamond in the rough, maybe. Look, I just don't want to be beholden to a lawyer. That's all. All right. You do you, man. It's fair enough logic, I suppose. Counsel for defense and defendant. Court proceedings are about to resume. Make your way to the courtroom at once. Please help us find our eyes. We're blind. Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding off at all. Certainly not. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Moustache in floods of tears, personally, so the best of luck to you. Look at Mr. Esquire! Yes, Mr. Natsume? It's time, isn't it? Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shamsphere. This is going to be the final battle. I won't really have saved Sosuke-san until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You can do it, Ryunosuke. You have to. We got this. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense. Namely, that the victim of the case we heard here only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident. A reckless, rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing in my opinion, my lord. However, the prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you! I don't think you should have said thank you to that. Or that backhanded consideration. A rather cold assessment from the honorable British prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Menzies, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand? Ready and waiting in the witness's antechamber, my lord. Very well. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court, please. Really? We have to do this for Shamsphere again? William Shamsphere, my liege. For mine occupation, I can say only that I be a tragic victim to be pitied. Currently unemployed, in other words. I'm Olive Green. I'm a fledgling artist. Well, no. Not a fledgling, right? Really, a hopeless failure who's too weak-spirited to admit she has no talent, I suppose. Also currently unemployed, in other words. What a coterie. This is just sad. Mr. Shamsphere. My lord, I am thy humble servant. I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you've played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you. I would for naught else, my lord. And Miss Green? Yes? You are aware of the reason you've been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume. Yes, the officer did explain. He said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon. And? Do you accept the charge, Miss Green? I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man. Come, lady. Die to live. If he had just said, come, lady, die, I would have actually ended the video right now. I don't care that we're only about 10 minutes in. Verily, I know not thy prickly, pea-pigmented personage. My screen is covered in spit now. Very well, let us proceed with the matter at hand. That being, to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair. It's all very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. It so happens that I passed by that neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night that this man was poisoned, I was still in hospital, fighting for my life. Yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garrett household. An incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days. I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife, through no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion? What other irrelevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing. Your energies may be better spent worrying about random knife attacks, I feel, Miss Green. At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Chancellor's lodgings is the Briar Road incident of 6 days ago. That's why we would like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened. Oh no! The incident 6 days ago? You mean you want me to relive that awful accident? Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court about what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamsphere. Eh? But what happened 6 days ago is nothing to do with me being poisoned. Let us proceed then. The witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road the evening of the 17th of February. It was 6 days ago, about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men in this case have their lodgings. I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakest, for I hath bespoke my supper. It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all. Anyway, I was admitted straight to hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business. Okay, relatively straightforward. Definitely something worth pressing, though. Yes, a second incident inside a week at what I believe to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume this is a most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamsphere. 'Twas the following morn, when I did awaken, that I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a comment did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine? Or commotion. I cannot read today. Mitsusuki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. As suspected, there is nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true, it does seem as though they're unrelated at first glance. But I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here. I feel certain of it. And this is my one and only chance to expose it. Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish. Yes, my lord. Okay, I think for now we're just going to go ahead and press the statements. There's one specific one I really want to press, but let's get everything out of this. You never know where might get more information from.
Hold it!
I'm well acquainted with the case. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It was awful. I still can't believe I was unconscious for so long. And I woke up to find the case had been solved and the culprit arrested. Yes, the incident has been resolved already. Perhaps it would help you to consider it a bad dream that ended with your awakening, and should now be forgotten. Yes, I suppose so. Thank you. But before you put it completely behind you, Miss Green, I need you to remember the details one last time. You must tell the court exactly what happened that day for us to arrive at the truth about this new case. The trouble is, there's nothing to tell, really. I was just walking along the pavement. Okay, let's do number 2. What were you doing there that day, though? What do you mean? The art school you attend. What's it called? Ah, yes. It's the Thorndyke Academy of Fine Arts. According to Mr. Schultz, that's just in the vicinity of Brixton Road, which is some 10 stops away from the scene on the underground. I believe you mentioned before that you also live on Brixton Road, isn't that right? So why then would you have been walking along Briar Road in the middle of the East End? Well, it's because, oh yes, of course. I thought I might make a nice picture. The witness is a student of art. City-dwelling artists can't all paint grand urban vistas. That's right. I happen to like the crumbly look of that part of town. Perhaps quaint would have been a less grating term. The point is, she's definitely hiding something. Yes, it seems she's not going to be forthcoming with the truth. If she's trying to hide why she was there that evening, it must mean there's a reason for her not wanting us to know. That's the key to this. And you, Mr. Shansphere, on the evening of the incident 6 days ago? Would you tell the court what exactly you were doing? 'Twould be my pleasure, sire. Okay.
Hold it!
Go ahead and press that one. A tavern, you say? Which one? 'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a jewel in the East End. And a little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zeeks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining, for the locality at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room. It's true, the menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness. What the h***? That's a thing? That's weird. I would have expected Grub's Grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather, soupy water and pea like mush. All equally appetizing. I just wanted to try some water at a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? How different can water really be? Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation? A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment. Agreed. The fact that on that day of all days, he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shansford's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. I think we're going to hold off for now. I want to press some of the other statements. I wish we did, but sadly I can't think of anything at the moment. We find a clue that could explain why Mr. Chancellor went there. We must present it to the court. Yes, absolutely. If that is all in this matter, Counsel, I would ask Miss Green to reiterate her next statement. Okay, let's check this one. This is the big one. What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate. It was nothing, really. It's not worth mentioning. If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital. Ah. It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. What does that matter? This has nothing to do with that. Oh. Hello.
Excuse me.
Mr. Shansphere, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be, that is the question. Well, at least I finally got one reference. Ah, pray forgive me. The great Bodsword springeth from within me with ne'er a thought. Don't tell me it's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? And Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps? Well, nay, sire, 'twas nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you were both lodgers in the same house. I would, if it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours. Miss Green? Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong? The card that was mentioned before, containing the note, do you have it upon your person? I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really. Before you dispose of it, the court will take it as evidence, please. Miss Green's card, a note in an envelope, seemed to have been ripped open rather roughly. It contains instructions to meet with someone who claims to have information about Duncan Ross. Of course, that's what links Mr. Shansphere and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross. Now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green. Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and press this before we continue. Yes, you didn't regain consciousness until the day after the trial, did you? In the early hours. Exactly. So how could I have had anything to do with it? And yet, you still haul me in here to court like this. Honestly. So at the time of the poisoning, the witness was unconscious in her hospital bed. Could there be a more airtight alibi, I ask you? And yet, in spite of that, you claim that I was the culprit? Well, But you certainly haven't produced any evidence to support your wild claim, have you? None at all. There you have it. The good lady has yet to see evidence, my learned Nipponese friend. I'm working on it. Counsel, I will point out here that the jury's net decision will be final. We're really up against the wall here. Oh, Mr. Nahado, you pursued Mr. Shancer wonderfully there. It's worked out well, hasn't it? We have a new clue at last. Alright, now I need to pull off a really insightful objection somewhere. Well, as you've managed to expose this promising new angle, I wonder if you should perhaps try to develop that. Ah, yes, of course. And yelling out objections isn't necessarily the best way to do that, I suppose. Alright, so before we continue, I want to take a look at Miss Green's card here. The envelope has been ripped open rather carelessly, hasn't it? Miss Green strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah, what is it? The way the envelope is torn, I'm almost sure I've seen the exact same shape somewhere else. Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? Exactly. That's it. Try to match them up. Ooh. They go together perfectly. This torn up end of the envelope clearly belongs to this card. Details of Miss Green's card have been updated in the court record. Delicious. Also, the torn off end of the envelope has been updated. Interesting. Okay, so now that we have taken care of that, I want to go ahead and repress statement 3, and this time we will present evidence. I'll go ahead and skip ahead to that specific part for your relative convenience.
Hold it!
Alright, so let's present some evidence this time. Mr. Shansphere. Yes, sire? On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize, for a very particular reason? I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speakst. Very well, I will present the court with the evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day. Namely, let's present that mother heckin' card.
Take that!
I believe this card reveals the answer. Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shansphere, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Greenberg's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Ah. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shansphere? Well? Excuse me, can I say something? Yes, Miss Green? That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it? Well, you think so, yes. But it's hard to believe it's merely... My lord, may I? May you what, Miss Green? I'd like to make something very clear about that card. Very well then, you may amend your testimony to include details about the peculiar note. This note was delivered to me at my address. It has nothing to do with the odd man next to me here. Well, that ain't true, because we have proof! The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. And upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in hospital. Yes, I did. It's terrible, everything that's happened to me. Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is. What do you mean? Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn off end of an envelope. Oh, is it? And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received. Where did you find that? In Mr. Shansphere's room. Eh? In my room? I don't know why I gave him an accent there. Mr. Shansphere, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well... Your actions that afternoon follow the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th, and so that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shansphere. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green. What did I do? As this torn off end of the envelope proves, The note was originally in Mr. Shansfear's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession? I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all. That's not proof at all. There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shansfear's room and stole it. You did what? Sorry. Thou hast what? You broke, thou were in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. You're both guilty. You're so guilty, Miss Green. Yes? Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure for the suffering you have endured in recent events. Anyone found to be giving false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind. Yes, I know. Very well then, witnesses. You will give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claimed to have received. It's all falling into place. One more time, ladies and gents. I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, pre-adventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening, I shared the company of the Japanese fellow. I did see the note had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I can point out the villain here. And as for that torn off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it. You now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shansfear? Faith, 'tis so, my lord. And I would swear to have set upon the table of my humble lodgings. Yet, 'tis clear to me now that since I've returned from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was a lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think that I'm the one lying. I beg your pardon? I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. That is such that would never hold up in court. That note was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who the liar around here is. And how is it that you know that? If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shansfear. I don't see why I should explain. Sorry? I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. That's not how this works! It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer. Alright, that's Ryunosuke 3. The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses. Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shansfear's room. There could be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note. Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all this. And it's not a pretty one. Okay. Alright, so I'm pretty sure we can work this one out without having to press every statement. Why would I? Well, why would you? I don't know. To poison him? Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. and though the contents spilled during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sholm's chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine. Strychnine. I give up on this word, guys. I can't. I will never say it right. I'm sure I've said it wrong every time, except maybe once. Strychnine, I guess. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare. Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason, and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room with poison. Can this be? You broke into my room to... It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there's only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green! Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie me! Oh my god! Okay. Not the shot I thought I was gonna get today. Order, order, order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. But if Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected, the attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely. Well, that's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon? There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at that time. Lord Van Zeeks. And of course, the following morning, there was more activity at Mr. Shamspeare's address. More activity? Yes! You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder. That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shamspeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. To cause the gas stove of Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison on the pipe lay dormant. And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again. Right! Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted. That results in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shamspeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. Mary! She's on a box. With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green? Yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared the poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So that's what's behind all this. You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life? It's Duncan Ross, because he died because of Shamsphere.
Take that!
Duncan Ross. That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodging at Mr. Garrett-Epps, somebody else was renting that room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague... Of course, yes! I remember now! The young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamsphere blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ah! Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths, that's all people care about. If it's an interesting story, they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamsphere. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamsphere, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? Oh, she looks so sad! This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. Says the man who drinks 7 glasses of wine minimum per trial. Shut the f*** up. What? Why would Mr. Shamsphere have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slight. 'Tis lies, all lies, that deny every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruto, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green, I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason? I thought I'd have a look around. That's all. That's such... Your arguments are... Sorry? You're right. I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Oh, vileness! Oh, villainy! Oh, tyranny! Oh, rotundity of woman! But in any case, when I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock. That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire. Oh, awfulness! Oh, awfulness! Oh, tyranny of profanity of woman! We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed. Well, I spotted the note I sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place. Eh? Yes, we also discovered the hiding place. Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty. What? There's something in it? Yes. This rather nice key. Ah! What are you doing with that? What the? Every ounce of color is drained from his face. Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine. I inherited it. You broke into his room and stole it! What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it? No, what's all this about? He inherited that key? It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care. Give it back this minute! Give it to me! Calm yourself, witness. So, Mr. Chancer has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Chancer, at first. But considering everything we now know, I think there is actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal. Everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Chancer's alleged crimes? Let's go over the capital offenders file real quick. 18 counts of burglary, 6 counts of suspected murder. Died of natural causes while in prison. His final moments witnessed only by a cellmate. The esteemed 1,000 pounds worth of loot he stole remains unrecovered. Manchester Strangeways Prison announced the death of convicted murderer and burglar Selden by natural causes in the early hours this morning. He had been suffering fever since the end of October. Alerted by the shouts of his fellow cellmate, medical staff around to find him already dead, or his capital punishment could be carried out. So, I think it has to do with that 1,000 pounds of stuff he stole, right?
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get a hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant, Mr. Natsume, have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this, certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happened that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The sum 1,000 pounds worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course. It's coming back to me now. It's written in his file here. 1,000 pounds lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret. The location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in. You mean this key is... Mr. Chancellor, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? 'Tis a false charge, I tell you, a false charge! The name of the inmate who was with Selden at his death isn't noted in this file. But a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how the false charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant in the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot! So, it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Chancellor's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of his prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garrett's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice, because Selden's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Chancellor subsequently devised in his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching to the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Sosuke Natsume, the defendant of this case, no less. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Chancellor? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. Ah! I think he just died again. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they get to stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, this is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamsphere. It's mine. What did he just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Oh God! Oh, that actually scared me, Mr. Shakespeare. It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. So, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me. For the time being, anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I'd just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a way. Pardon? There's one way I can finish him. No! He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule. If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly. This is the final piece in this complex puzzle. But I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may have something that can help us find where the loot is hidden. My lord? Yes, counsel. The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. Very well then, counsel, let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hull? Well, if we use the handprints on the wall trick before, and just kind of see where the handprints are, we might be able to find something.
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shansphere's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene. Based on the wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes. A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one Mr. Sham Spear. Oh, that was him. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title. This man showing up when we need him. Ah! 'Tis Herlock Sholmes himself! What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since last we met. God bless. Mr. Sholmes! He does know Lord Van Zieks then. Old enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit. If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already. Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we are able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. Ah! You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Sosuke-san's room. We need a sample to help locate someone's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? Well, I mean, Miss Green would have the key, right? So I guess present a person. We will need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Miss Naruto, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain a possession of the late convict Selden to create an indicator solution? Yeah, Olive Green, because she is his key.
Take that!
Miss Green? Me? What do you want with me? The key around your neck, if you please. Sorry? That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholm's skin, Prince Seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent. Mr. Shamsphere has one great to another, I assure you. If the late convict's haul is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shamsphere, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hand on Selden's stolen wealth. In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key. No! Give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamsphere. No, no! You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. Whoa. Oh, shameful spear! Despair! Be thy name! He just has that on him? Why? I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room. That's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet after you killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Gerdev really has had a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume, what unfortunate timing. Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road, when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. And if I remember rightly, Mr. Schoen spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why, on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap. William Shamsphere? How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question. From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. The gas supply, my new lodgings are a complete disaster now, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. That's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight? No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember? But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to Grubb's Grubbery for some food, so I followed him and sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican. That place is cursed, I tell you! Cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me! I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because of the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas, and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked. No problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking. But how could that be? Duncan was gone, and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered a rumor I had heard about how the gas companies go around investigating gas installations. A rumor? Ah, you mean... Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes. How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework. That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End. Black market? I'd never been. I just heard people talk about them. And you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out, one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident? Or was it murder? And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Chancellor was innocent, nothing would come of what you'd done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly. I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shakespeare. And then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad Bar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I knew that would worry him enough, so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked. And of course, Mr. Shakespeare followed the instructions to the letter. I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away. So I smeared a good amount of poison I had bought all around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the culprit would get his just desserts. "3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord. I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponi's friend. Oh, yes. And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green? Yes, my lord? You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shakespeare. Yes, I know. And you, Mr. Shakespeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Sosuke Natsume here present. Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes? Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from ending your life by drinking what was left of the poison bottle, I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems. Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green. Oh! And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shakespeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least. Aww. Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now, you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green! Mr. Sosuke Natsume? Yes, my lord. The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant not guilty. Let's go. Once again, Natsume has been saved by the likes of me. I forgot about the indoor fireworks. Good for Great Britain. Court is adjourned. Oh, yes, yes, at last! Divine justice duly done! Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache. Get absolutely destroyed. No! This has nothing to do with my mustache! Some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes. Welcome to the Mr. Naho, Esquire! Once again, you saved me from doom! I'm very happy to have been able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. You're second in almost as many days. I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to a land that bore the fruit of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books. You've had such a difficult time, haven't you? Ah, but a week ago now, I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? You did, and I've seen more of life in this week than in all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind the wall of fog. My dear fellow, there's nothing special about the true face of the English, as you put it. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans have all the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live. Well said. I've come to feel the same way. I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan. What? Just when we become friends here in England, what a terrible shame. Oh, I know, that does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something of my own. A novel of sorts, I suppose. Oh my! So you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful! Oh, well, no! I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature! Why not? When that is precisely the definition, Mr. Moustache. I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur. Not yet. I, for one, would love to read your work. Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper. Ah! That's very true. And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor. The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand. Guys! My goodness, yes! Face is such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure. Just leaves immediately, just runs out. But that's not why I'm leaving! I mean it! Oh, he yelled objection. And that was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. Sosuke-san did indeed return to Japan and submit a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading the report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Susato-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. Oh, well done, Mr. Schultz. How simply marvelous of you to uncover the secret hiding place in just one day. Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? As I believe I told you, my dear fellows, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? He is not happy. Greggy's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley. Happily? I think perhaps humorlessly might be closer to the truth. So, it transpires the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then. If you're ready, let's examine the late burglar's haul. What is that? Ooh! It looks to be some sort of neckband or collar. It has blood on it. A collar? It's huge though! And look at all the gemstones set in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth 1,000 pounds. Perhaps I could have it as a belt? Oh, have you noticed on the inside there? There are some dark stains. You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. On second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. Then of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown. What does it signify, you think? Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know. Where could it have been? That's enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color has drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, aren't you? It could be valuable evidence after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key. Ah, yes. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot, and hand it over, now! I'd never seen a collar that large before. And all those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me, at least not once I noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar, those stains, could they really have been blood? Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now. And you look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating. You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I presume. The mystery of the knife in the mist, and the mustache man and the convict's curse, perhaps. I could make it a two-part story. Oh, I can't wait. A word please, Iris. Yes? What is it, Hurley? I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question. What? Why not? It's a great case. Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear? Yes.
And so it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.